Hello all, it's time for a little VR. Very kindly tagged by my good pal, my old mucker,
Russ the Retro Bear.
Russ, the Retro Bear. It was about time I rolled the t-shirt out that he kindly sent me. Everyone's seen this t-shirt by now. My missus took the piss out of me a couple of years ago because I went to a gig and I wore the t-shirt of the band I was going to see. It's not the cool thing to do, but I'm not a cool person, so I do things like that, to be fair. Right, I've got a load of stuff next to me for this VR. So I've already done my top 10 games VR, and when I saw that this variation on the 10 was going around, I thought initially that I'd probably give it a swerve if it's an open tag and I've not been asked to do it, because the top 10 games that I picked weren't necessarily my top, what I consider the 10 best games of all time, or my 10 favourite games of all time. It was a little bit of a it was a mix of favourites, key what's I trying to say there, sort of milestone games, or games that came along at a key time, maybe. So I mean, just for example, I had the first console game I played, milestone. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Just, yeah, it was a mix of like significant games. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Significant games, some of my favourites. Yeah, it was just a general top 10, and as everyone else said, that could change. That list is very much subject to change on any given day or week, probably with like a few exceptions. So yeah, initially I did think I'd swerve this, but Russ tagged me in, and I was quite pleased he did, because it gives me the opportunity to talk about 10 more games. So that's not a bad thing. And start with some honourable mentions, I think. It's a good way to squeeze a few extra titles in. So let's start with right. So yeah, Spider-Man on the Mega Drive. So this is a memorable game because I sat and played this when I briefly borrowed a Mega Drive off a mate. So for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks I had his Mega Drive, and this is the game that I played the most. Bit of Streets of Rage as well, I think, but I actually sat and played this. And the reason I sat and played this so much is because I played the Game Gear version quite a bit on my cousin's Game Gear, so I was a big fan. The game's not brilliant. It's quite hard. Even with the cheats, I still can't complete it. And the hit detection's not perfect, but there's just something about this game I do like. And as I say, this is the game that I sat and played the most when I had my mate's Mega Drive. So for that reason, it's a good memory. I still like this game. I really want to complete this game at some point. I use the cheats and I can get right to the end where you've got to fight the Kingpin and Mary Chain's being lowered into a vat of acid or something, and I just can't, even with the cheats, because you can keep replenishing your health, I still can't beat the bastard. I'll go back to it. But I am a fan of this game. I think the Master System / Game Gear version is a little bit different, and I think I possibly prefer it, but I like both, to be honest. So that is an honourable mention. As is, now this is something a bit different that I don't usually show on my channel, but it's is this a big box? Is this a big box PC game? Sounded a bit like Louis Theroux there. Is this a big box game? Yeah, so Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. I played this quite a bit on my mate's stepdad's PC when we were kids, and I later had my mate, a different mate, gave me did a copy of this for me. I mean, a backup. He backed up his game, and then I borrowed the backup, shall we say? And do you know what? I'm not a massive Star Wars head. I like the original 3. I watched them as a kid, not over and over again, but I saw them quite a few times and enjoyed them. But the Star Wars bug has never bitten me. But this game was really good. From what I can remember, it was split over 2 discs with 9 levels on each, and you can, depending on the decisions you make and the you know, the consequences, you go to the dark side or the light side. And yeah, remember playing this and really enjoying it. Completed it as well. And one of the things I remember, I don't know if there's going to be a picture of them on the back, but there, oh yeah, there were, you did have some FMVs as well. The lighting is terrible. There were some little video clips. Yeah, there were these little people called, I think they were called Ugnaughts, and they're just NPCs, and they're just, you find them from about level 9 onwards, and they're just dotted about, and they're just making like repairs and that. Poor little guys, they don't mean you any harm, they're neutral, they don't fight you, they're just getting on with their work. And me and my mate used to find creative ways to kill them. Like calling a lift and shoving them under the lift when it came down. Just remember sitting there doing that and just giggling like schoolgirls. So that's a fond memory. I picked this up a couple of years ago just to sit on the shelf, but I would really like to play this again. Even more so, I'd like a remaster of that if there's one coming. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, but this is good game. And then my final honourable mention, we've got nearly 10 minutes and I've not even finished my honourable mentions, but it's BF2, Battlefield 2. So around 2005 I stopped playing console games for the most part. Most of them were boxed up and put in the loft, and I got right into PC gaming to the point where I had I bought quite a large, I think it was about 20-inch CRT from a mate. It weighed an absolute ton, and I bought a full-sized sort of office desk to sit in my bedroom, big enough that it could house this, you know, the monitor could sit on it, plus I had the keyboard in front of it and loads of room for the mouse. So I was well into mouse and keyboard gaming, and played quite a lot of this with some mates. Massive maps, really massive maps. Very different to Call of Duty, where if you die, you're within seconds you're back in the action. I remember one of us dying, and you'd go and pick your mate up in a chopper and bring him back into like the main portion of the map where it was all going on. So I was well into PC gaming for quite a while, and I didn't see myself going back to console gaming, but for some reason I just on a whim got an Xbox 360. So the last console I would have had before that, I suppose I was playing GameCube and PS2. As I say, thought I was done with console gaming around 2005, but ended up getting a 360. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump forward, because this was going to be like number 10, but it kind of makes sense to mention this in this order. So this is my first out of the main 10 that I'm going to pick, and it's Call of Duty World at War. So the memory behind this is, as I say, I fucked the desk off because it was eating up so much room in my bedroom, The monitor got put up in the loft. Sadly, I've not still got it. I wish I did. I packed it all in. I got quite bored of BF2. I think another disc came out, like an expansion pack, and for some reason I could not get it to work, so I got the amp and stopped playing it. And then I bought a 360, and it was just before Black Ops 1 came out, and loads of my mates had been into Call of Duty for the last few years. They'd been playing, you know, when Call of Duty 4 really got massive, all my mates were playing it apart from me. So they played Modern Warfare 2 and this, and I'd missed out. So I was waiting for Black Ops 1 to come out, and a mate of mine said Black Ops 1's coming out in November, because I was like, what like, suggest to me some games and stuff, and he suggested, look, for the last few months just pick this up and just start getting used to Call of Duty, start getting used to that controller rather than the keyboard and mouse. So I did. Started playing this. Initially I thought it was a bit shit, well, in comparison to like when Black Ops come out, but then as I think I mentioned Black Ops in my top 10, because I spent quite a little bit of time out of work or just working part-time, and so did my mates. Just went through this phase. It was about 2011, which makes me think, do you know what, I had a bigger gap from gaming than I thought, because I probably stopped playing Battlefield by 2007 or something. So for a few years I didn't play games, apart from if I was around a mate's house or whatever, joining in with the odd game. Anyway, yeah, so we were rinsing Black Ops 1, but every now and then me and another mate would chuck this on, and although the multiplayer was hacked and buggy as fuck, this, I love it, and I really regret that I didn't play this when this was the Call of Duty game before it got hacked. You've got different celebrities voicing some of the characters. Very dark game. This include the single player campaign's good. I've completed it a couple of times, and the multiplayer is also, it's just very, very dark. There's not been another Call of Duty like this, even though they've gone back and done World War II. So that's a good memory. Right, so this is the core list now. Well, that was the first one, but right, going back into more of a chronological order. So the first game is Barbarian 2 on the Spectrum, and this is the actual one. So yeah, the memory that I've got attached to this is the loading. It's sort of, I remember like the loading times and what we used to do when we were killing time waiting for these games to load. That is of course, that is Wolf from Gladiators on the front there. Yeah, just, this was a decent game. I think I possibly preferred the first Barbarian to this, which I've got as well. But I remember this is the one we sort of tended to play more, and while this loaded we used to sit around and sing songs. Just like silly, I can't remember any off the top of my head now, but yeah, we just sit there and sing like very silly songs, maybe sometimes rude songs or whatever, to sort of pass the time till this game had sort of loaded, and then we'd play it. It's funny because people do kind of moan about like having to install like modern gen games, waiting for the games to install, updates coming in, so you can't always turn the game on and fire it up. And I understand that stance, but for myself, possibly because I'm so used to having to wait for my Spectrum games to load as a kid, like it doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, that's I'll always remember that we did it with other games as well, but for some reason this stands out as the one with like produced like the silliest songs while we were waiting. So it was me and my cousin, my older cousin, who I've mentioned a few times on the channel. I think sometimes as well we'd start loading up a Spectrum game, and then we'd go off and play a bit of Master System while we waited. And speaking of Master System, I think this might have been an honourable mention in my top 10, but I want to kind of bring it to the fore a little bit. I tried to pick 10 games that I haven't picked, but I think this may have been an honourable mention, but I felt it deserved it because of a particular memory attached to this, which I always think about. It always pops to mind. So the game is Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I used to have this built into my Master System too. First console game I ever played. But the memory in particular is my family used to buy and read the papers, and every Saturday in one of the papers they used to publish cheats and hints and stuff for games in one of the like pull-out sections. And one week there was a hint / cheat for this, and if you anyone that's played it, if you remember, it's the little octopus guy that sat on like the glass pot or the jar, and if you systematically took him out, he'd disappear, and then you just had the jar. Now you could go into that pot and into a bonus level, and I'd try to do that because you could swim over him or you could take him out, and I used to always take him out, and then I'm sure a few times I tried to get in the pot but couldn't and moved on. But when they said in the paper that you can get in that pot, I thought, really? I've tried that enough times. So next time I fired this game up, went back and had a go, and sure enough, you can get in there. The trick is that it's a bit, I don't know if it's a tiny bit glitchy or what, but you have to swim. You take the octopus guy out, and then you swim over the pot, and then it's not just a case of pressing down. You have to kind of wiggle back and backwards and forwards and stick with it, and eventually you sink through and you go into another area. So that was good. That was such a surprise when it came off, because I thought, nah, that's bollocks. I've tried that a few times and you can't get in them. But yeah, you stick with it, you wiggle about a bit, and eventually you do pass through. So very nostalgic game, and that's one of my outstanding memories of playing it. So yeah, that gets in at sort of number 2. Right, next up I've gone for one of my most played games of the 16-bit era, a game that we came back to time and time again, one that we never got bored of, we never got pissed off with this game. There's nothing really to be pissed off about, is there? And I can still play it today, and for me it's the best, certainly 16-bit game of its genre. So it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and I think this one's the best, and it's Turtles in Time. So there's not really a specific. Once again, I do appreciate the lighting here is a bit pants. I do appreciate that this is sorry, I was going to say that there's not a particular memory attached to this, like with the Alex Kidd. It's just memory of always sticking this one on, always going back to it, usually completing it, playing it through till we finished it, and just loving every minute of it. It's just a classic, isn't it? I think, as I say, I think this is the best side-scrolling beat 'em up. I think it's just got the edge on Streets of Rage, but it's personal opinion. And yeah, this is a game I'll never tire of playing, and yeah, the memories I got just playing it with my cousin, and playing it with my bro, and then when mates come round for a bit of old school gaming, which hasn't happened a lot, obviously, because like lockdown and stuff. Last few years it's not really happened, but yeah, this is always a good one to go to. So this gets in just because the memory of it being very much a go-to game. Right, we're going on a bit of an N64 kick now. Got Goldeneye soundtrack on in the background. I'm gonna try and keep a little bit of a lid on these next few games because I'm due to do an N64 collection vid, which will be somewhere where I talk a lot more about them. So I'm going to keep this kind of brief. But right, so yeah, there's 4 N64 games now. First one is, it speaks for itself, don't it? Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So I will save like I will save the bulk of the waffle for the N64 collection vid. Happy to say this is the original one that I got back in, I don't know if I got it in 98, I think I got it in 99, but yeah, the memory attached to this was the SNES had been passed down to me by my old cousin a couple of years prior, whatever, and he had an N64 before I did. Initially I didn't have any interest in picking up my own N64, and I just remember he used to buy the mags as well, and when the review for this came out, it got like 98% or something ridiculous. So it was like big news that such a amazing game was coming out. And then I remember watching him play it when it did come out. He was trying to solve a puzzle, I think in I can't remember where he was on the map, but it just looked brilliant. So this was a bit of a system seller. I have to have this, and I ended up getting my own N64. So that's part 1A of the memory. 1B is the first time you run out onto Hyrule Field and you just see that sprawling field. You realise that everywhere I can see, I can go to. That was an experience I won't forget. I'd not played a game like that before. Yes, it doesn't look great at the moment, and it is expensive to mod your N64. Sorry, I say at the moment. When you play it now, I mean, to be honest, even at the time, I never thought the N64 looked particularly great. Obviously, that early 3D, playing games back in the day on a console with early sort of 3D graphics. Even at the time, I didn't think they looked particularly good, but the graphics it's never been about the graphics. So fantastic memories attached to that. Right, next up is Goldeneye, and it is a shame that I've only got this loose cart, but this came bundled with the console, so yeah, loose cart. So again, I'll save the bulk of the waffle for the N64 video, but the memory I've got with this is that to unlock all the cheats or unlockables, you had to complete the facility mission, or what we used to call the toilet mission, because you start in the bogs. You had to complete that in I think it was like 2 minutes and 5, and I couldn't do it. And I think a lot of people struggled. Certainly people that I knew, people at my school struggled. But there was one lad that could do it. So everyone used to bring their cart. Everyone went for a run of everyone bringing their carts in, and one by one he would do it. So I passed on my cart to him, got it back a few days later, and he'd unlocked it. So fair play to him. Yeah, he was a good lad. I think he told me that the key is that there's one NPC, I think it's Dr. Doak, and he has to be in a certain place for you to have any, because he could appear in different points on the level, and if he didn't, he had to be at a certain point to have any chance of doing it. So I dare say I'd like to think I could go back and give it a bash now. I mean, at some point I'd like to replace the batteries and all my games, and obviously I'm going to lose all my saves. It's been quite a few years since I fired this up, so I'm dreading that I could sort of lose all my files and my saves before I've had the chance to at least go through it and just look at all my saves and stuff. So that'll be a different. That's a bit of a mission, a future mission, to change all the batteries in my carts. But yeah, I'd like to think that I can go back and do that myself now. Sorry, I'm a bit throaty. Right, next game again. Yeah, it's 2 more N64s, two more N64 games. This one is WCW NWO Revenge. Now, the specific memory that I'm going to talk about for this video is that me and my cousin went out on the same day. Got the train to Bromley, which is where we used to go, into Game Station, and he bought WWF Warzone and I bought WCW NWO Revenge. Got back to his house and we played them both. I can't remember which one we played first, but we you know, had a run out of them both. I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes on both. And initially we thought this was a bit shit and that Warzone was the game to play. On the surface, I can see why we came to that conclusion, because the Warzone graphics, and it's much nicer to look at. The graphics are, you've got better graphics, you've got speech, you've got little videos and stuff. Presentation wise, on the surface, you can be forgiven to be fooled to think that Warzone's a better game. I'm sort of struggling to articulate the point, but it didn't take long until we realised that Warzone was like all sizzle and no steak, and that this, although it didn't look as good, this was a far superior game. And it didn't take long to realise it. It was a matter of days, and then we've never been we absolutely hammered this, and Warzone never went in. Warzone occasionally went in just to listen to some of the like the audio in it and stuff, and just to have a bit of fun with it. But this was the game we played, because this is in the series of the best wrestling games ever made. Ended with No Mercy. Now there is an AEW game coming out, I think, hopefully this year, and from what I understand, it is made by Aki, who made this series of games. So if that is the case, and that gets a release, I'm very excited for it. Let's just say that. Right, final N64 game. Good, because I feel like I'm losing my voice. So let's get this wrapped up. It's Shadow Man. So I completed this back in the day, back in the late 90s or very early 2000s. Very dark game, this, and one that I really did enjoy. I think it took me quite a while to complete it and find all the is it the Dark Souls? Got to find. But the memory that I've got for this is that in 2007 I joined like a landscaping team local to me, and one of the blokes that I worked with was in his sort of early mid-50s. And he was a bit of a gamer, and he was into his music and stuff, so we got right on. He was into like Black Sabbath and stuff, same as me, so we clicked straight away. And one of the games that he used to talk about was Shadow Man. And so the memory that I've got of this is tied in with my mate, who's sadly no longer with us. And we used to talk about this a bit, and I remember him telling me that this is the only game that he played that affected him, got in his head a little bit. So we used to talk about it and stuff, and talk about little bits of the game we remembered and stuff. I'm in two minds whether to go back and play it. I sometimes with certain games you just think it's better left as an untouchable memory. It's up on a pedestal, and if I go back and play it now, then it's possibly not going to live up to it, and it's going to sort of muddy the memory a little bit. But I'm not sure. We'll see. Right, two more, and they're both PS2. So first one is GTA 3. First GTA game I played, because I was an N64 lad and I didn't have the PlayStation. Now I remember me and a few mates got PS2s for Christmas, and we all got this. So it reminds me of kind of a point in time, I guess. Do you know what? I'm doing this for my own benefit, because I'm looking at it, and it's been a long time since I played this. I will get the remaster trilogy at some point. So yeah, my memory of this is that we all got, well, I say we all, me and a couple of mates got PlayStations for Christmas, and we were all glued to this, and we'd go around each other's houses and we would take turns just playing the game. We had your own sort of campaign going on at home, but when we got together we'd just boot up like a different file or whatever, input the cheats, and just go on a bit of a rampage and build the star rating up and have all the police and the army after you, and just standing on top of a building like firing rockets at the choppers and taking out the tanks and stuff, and just fucking about really. And did that for quite a while. Just got, I never completed this, but I did get my money's worth out of just playing it sort of improperly. I will, yeah, on that remaster trilogy, I will, well, I say I will, I might not, I don't know. I've got stacks of games that I want to play, to be honest. I'd like to think I might get round to playing that and finishing it. And same with Vice City, because I've never really played that, and I feel like I've missed out on that one, so that would be good. Right. Final game, and it's a PS2 game again, and it's Manhunt. So yeah, remember a mate telling me about this game, and he had it. So one night we sat around his house and we were having a beer, and we were quite well refreshed with a couple of cigarettes, if you know what I mean. Clay Graphics will know exactly what I mean. But sitting and playing this, and I don't know what it says about me as a person, but fucking hell, I loved me and my mate, because we were two dark little fuckers anyway. Growing up, we were into like horror films and stuff when we were a bit young, and we were into like, not, God, I was about to say we were into horrible things then. That wouldn't sound good. We were just into, so we didn't do dark things, we just let me wrap this line of conversation up before I dig a big hole. We were just like into like watching horror films, reading about true crime and stuff. Just fascinated with I don't know, like the dark and the macabre and all that. So this was up our street, and we used to sit and play this, and we sometimes take turns completing the levels and stuff. Really good game to sit and watch someone else play, actually, but it is a very, very dark and violent game, as we all know. So yeah, just got lots of memories of sitting there late at night with my mate playing this, and this is very much a game you always have had rumours of a remake. And those rumours have kind of resurfaced in the last couple of years. I'll believe it when I see it. I just think in this day and age to release this as an updated, enhanced graphics and stuff, when it's so gruesome and so gory and very, very explicit, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But suffice to say, if this did get a remake, then I would absolutely, definitely play it. So yeah, there's my 10 more games, I suppose. 10 more games with good memories attached to them, and a few honourable mentions. So a couple of tags. I'm going to shout out Ian, formerly of the Poltergeist, formerly of Sam Hain Gaming. Sorry mate, I can't remember what we've only just had this chat today about your new channel, or about your rebranding of the channel. But yeah, tagging Ian, and bit of a flyer. I don't know if he's up for doing this or not. Pete's Nestastic. And while I'm there, don't know if they're going to watch this, but I'll also tag in Alex, Blutonic78, and Owen, Lebossu77. As I say, not sure they're going to watch it, but just throwing that out there. And anyone that is up for doing this, then obviously just get a VR out. So going to wrap it up there. This has gone on way longer than I expected, but there you go, talking games, aren't we? So thanks again to Russ. Really enjoyed all the VRs that have been going around for this subject. Yeah, there's been some good stuff. So let's call that a vid. Cheers.